Imagine someone throws the absolute worst, like the most dehumanizing insult at you.
Oh, yeah. It's the kind that really
So
stings.
exactly. They aren't just criticizing you, they are actively trying to make you feel like an infestation, like you're small, insignificant, easily crushed under a boot.
Right, which is just a brutal thing to experience.
It really is. And your natural instinct is usually either to shrink away or, to lash out in pure anger. But there's a third option.
Which is usually the most interesting one.
Totally. You pick that word up off the floor, you dust it off, you write it in bold letters on a massive banner, and you build an entirely unstoppable political identity out of it.
It completely short-circuits the power dynamic. When you
Yeah.
take the weapon aimed at your own insecurities and forge it into your shield, well, the establishment doesn't know how to fight you anymore.
They really don't.
Yeah, they're suddenly punching at a ghost.
And that profound reversal of power, that's exactly what we are dissecting today. Welcome to the deep dive.
Glad to be here for this one. It's a huge topic.
It is. We are looking at a breaking, genuinely historic moment happening literally today, Saturday, July 25, 2026. A Gen Z-driven movement, born entirely out of internet culture and sheer societal frustration, has just forced a massive political resignation at the highest levels of the Indian government.
It is a remarkable case study unfolding in real time. It's proving that decentralized, youth-led democratic pressure, it hasn't been completely neutralized by modern state apparatuses.
Before we jump in, just as a quick framework for today's discussion, our sources cover some incredibly highly charged political events.
Very charged, yeah.
We are looking at actions involving Prime Minister Narendra Modi, leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi, and Union Minister Dharmendra Pradhan. So a quick note to you listening. We aren't here to take political sides or endorse any viewpoints from the left or the right.
Absolutely not.
Right. Our objective is purely to deconstruct the mechanics of this movement, impartially lay out the facts from our sources, and understand how an internet meme brought down a cabinet minister.
That analytical distance is super important because the mechanics of this are just staggering. We are looking at how anger over the NEET medical examination paper leaks transformed over time.
Right. The NEET exams.
Yeah, it mutated from scattered, algorithm-driven online outrage into this sustained, genuinely grueling physical occupation at Delhi's Jantar Mantar Observatory.
Let's unpack this, because to understand the explosion, you really have to look at the pressure cooker. We are talking about the NEET exams.
Which is so much more than just a test.
Exactly. For millions of Indian students, this isn't just a test, it is a generational bottleneck. Families pour their entire life savings into these coaching centers.
The pressure on these kids is astronomical.
It's unbelievable. So when the system utterly fails, when widespread paper leaks reveal that the test is essentially, well, for sale to the highest bidder, the psychological devastation is total.
You have an entire generation of unemployed, highly educated, fiercely dedicated youth who realize the game is rigged.
Yeah.
The desperation is just palpable. And into that volatile atmosphere drops a spark. A court mark compared these frustrated protesting youths to, quote, cockroaches.
Which is such a chilling choice of words.
It really is.
Throughout history, whenever an authority figure refers to a group of people as vermin or insects, it is a deliberate rhetorical strategy. It's meant to strip away their humanity, making it socially acceptable to dispose of them.
Precisely. It is language designed to demoralize.
Yeah.
But these teenagers and 20-somethings across the country pulled a brilliant sociological pivot.
They flipped it.
They did. They reclaimed it. They formed the Cockroach Jantar Party, the CJP.
I look at that and I just see the ultimate defense mechanism of internet culture. It's like taking a bully's worst insult and printing it on your own t-shirt.
Yes, exactly.
You instantly remove the sting, but more than that, by leaning into the absurdity of calling yourself a cockroach, they weaponized self-deprecation. They took the joke and owned it.
What's fascinating here is how Gen Z utilizes satire, not just for entertainment, but as a highly sophisticated organizing tool.
Right, because usually politics is so rigid.
Exactly. Think about traditional political organizing. It usually requires rigid top-down structures.
Yeah.
Manifestos, regional committees, designated spokespeople.
Lots of paperwork.
So much paperwork.
Yeah.
But the CJP used satirical branding to bypass all of those traditional gatekeepers.
Yeah.
A meme travels way faster than any political pamphlet.
Oh, absolutely.
And because it relies on humor, it radically lowers the barrier to entry for participation.
And it makes them incredibly difficult to target. If a traditional student union protests, the state knows exactly how to deal with them.
You target the leader.
Right, you target the leader. But how do you decapitate a movement that is led by an inside joke? There is no single traditional leader the establishment can co-opt or, pressure.
Not at all.
Yet embedded within that joke was a very serious, uncompromising set of demands from day one. They wanted justice for the neat irregularities, and they demanded the immediate resignation of Union Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan.
Which is a massive ask. They weren't petitioning for a toothless investigative committee to look into the leaks.
Right, they wanted real accountability.
They were demanding that a cabinet-level head must roll.
But I want to pause on the transition here, from the digital to the physical, because we see digital outrage constantly.
All the time, every day.
A hashtag trends globally for 72 hours. Everyone changes their profile picture. Everyone is furious. And then...
The algorithm shifts.
Exactly. The algorithm serves up a new distraction and the movement vanishes. So how did this cockroach identity survive the jump from the safety of a smartphone screen to the brutal physical reality of an actual street protest?
Well, it's because the participants recognize the fundamental limitation of the digital world. The internet is phenomenal for the spark, right? For gathering the tribe and establishing a shared identity.
Sure, it gets people together.
But digital spaces can be ignored by people in power. You can meet a hashtag. You cannot mute thousands of bodies physically blocking the heart of your capital. To force the hand of a government, you have to create a visual, tangible disruption that cannot be scrolled past. They had to occupy Jantar Mantar.
And the physical reality of what happened at Jantar Mantar over the last few weeks is just staggering.
It's hard to even picture it.
We are talking about thousands of students, mostly late teens and early 20s, turning historic grounds into a permanent, entrenched camp. Tents lining the pathways, handwritten placards fluttering in the searing, suffocating heat of a Delhi summer.
It transitioned from a protest into a true test of bodily endurance. I mean, many of these students initiated hunger strikes to force their demands.
Yeah, the hunger strikes.
And the sources point out that these hunger strikes stretched beyond 20 days.
Wait, really? 20 days?
Yes.
The biological reality of 20 days without food and Delhi sheet is terrifying. The human body literally begins consuming its own muscle tissue at that point.
It's brutal. And the sources detail students literally collapsing in the camp. They would be rushed to local hospitals, receive the absolute bare minimum medical stabilization, and the moment they could physically stand upright again, they walked right back out of the hospital and returned to the protest site.
That is just incredible dedication, using their own physical deterioration as leverage against the state.
Yeah, and they were doing this while facing intense coercive pressure from authorities, too.
Right, the police response.
There was a very heavy police presence. We saw lathi charges used to scatter crowds, and there were specific reports of injuries, notably alleged pellet wounds inflicted on protesters during the night of July 20th.
That was a turning point.
And when physical force didn't break the camp, the authorities deployed a classic modern counterinsurgency tactic, restricting internet services in the area.
Okay, I have to push back on this point, or at least challenge the conventional wisdom here. Because I struggle to believe they just powered through an internet blackout without it nearly destroying them.
That's a fair point to raise.
Historically, look at the Arab Spring, or recent protests in Iran. The moment the state cuts the digital umbilical cord, the logistical spine of a movement usually snaps.
Usually, yes.
You can't coordinate medical help, you can't distribute supplies, you can't broadcast police movements. How does a digitally native movement, born out of memes, survive when its primary tool is taken away without fracturing?
It is a great question because historically, you are right. An internet blackout is usually the death knell for modern protests.
Exactly.
But the CJP students survived because they fundamentally shifted their sociological strategy the moment the signal dropped.
Oh, really? How so?
When the digital connection was severed, they didn't scatter to find Wi-Fi. They substituted digital connectivity with sheer unyielding physical proximity.
They replaced the network with the neighborhood.
Exactly that. They dug in deeper. Imagine the atmosphere at Jantar Mantar at night during those blackouts.
Must have been intense.
The grounds are lit only by the glow of phone screens playing whatever videos they had saved offline and small fires burning on the pavement.
Wow.
They sang resistance songs. They chanted slogans into the dark. They effectively created a self-sustaining micro-society. Shared physical trauma and shared space-forged bonds that are infinitely stronger and more resilient than any WhatsApp group.
The human element of that microsociety is what really stands out from the sources. It mentions parents starting to arrive from distant states as the weeks dragged on.
Yeah, that was a huge shift.
Some of those parents arrived to stand in solidarity, forming a protective ring around the students. But others came out of sheer terror, pleading with their kids to abandon the strike and come home before they were permanently injured or arrested.
Which is completely understandable for a parent.
Completely. But the overwhelming majority of those young faces stayed.
And that unyielding physical presence, that refusal to be erased from the landscape, forced mainstream politics to finally step into the arena.
It forced their hand.
The students proved a critical point. They could not be ignored, they could not be starved out, and they could not be beaten into submission. By holding the ground, they forced the political establishment to come to them.
Which sets the stage for the dramatic events of this very morning, Saturday, July 25. The entire atmosphere shifts because the leader of opposition, Rahul Gandhi, officially throws his political weight behind the students.
It was a massive development.
He meets with a group of the hunger-striking students, including representatives of the All India Students Association, right at his residence.
The visual optics of that meeting are vital for understanding the shift in momentum here.
What do you mean?
Well, when Gandhi stepped out of his residence with the students after a remarkable long meeting, the images were broadcast everywhere. You have some of these young people standing beside one of the most prominent political figures in the country.
Right.
And they are still carrying the visible physical marks and bruises from the police actions they endured at Jantar Mantar.
It's an incredibly stark contrast to see those two worlds collide. And Gandhi didn't just stand there and offer thoughts and prayers or vague moral support. He acted as an amplifier for the CJP.
Yes, he laid it all out clearly.
He laid out three non-negotiable demands. First, the complete removal of Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan. And he specified they were demanding a hard resignation, no soft landing, no quiet transfer to another ministry, complete removal.
Which is a direct challenge to the ruling government's authority and a refusal to allow the administration to save face.
Exactly. Second, strict action against whoever ordered and executed the violence against the students, particularly around the events of July 20th.
Accountability for the force used.
And third, a public apology from the Prime Minister himself to the youth of the country. Gandhi's rhetoric was razor-sharp today. He explicitly labeled Pradhan a symbol of corruption and destruction regarding the education system.
Here's where we see the political apparatus formally adopting the unfiltered anger of the cockroach Jantar Party.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Gandhi actively dismantled the Prime Minister's recent communication strategy.
Oh, he went right for it.
He pointed out the PM's late-night video messages, stating flatly that the students at Jantar Mantar don't want more videos or PR spin. They demand concrete, systemic action.
Yeah, no more talk.
And he looked at the young protesters and delivered a line that is going to be quoted for a long time. He said, "You are India's future. They are India's past."
If we connect this to the bigger picture, Gandhi's framing perfectly captures the evolution of this entire movement.
How so?
Well, what started as localized, specific anger over the NEET exam irregularities expanded. It turned into a wholesale rejection of an utterly opaque, compromised system.
Right, it grew beyond just the test.
The students, and subsequently the political opposition, identified a systemic rot where the fundamental social contract had just been shredded.
It is the ultimate betrayal for a young person. The social contract dictates that if you study hard, sacrifice your time, and pass the brutal exams, you will earn a secure future.
That's the promise we all get.
And instead, they discovered the exams were just another marketplace where merit was entirely replaced by money, influence, and connections.
And realizing that your merit is worthless in a corrupt system generates a very specific, dangerous kind of righteous anger. It's why the tension at the protest site didn't dissipate after Gandhi's endorsement. It escalated.
It totally did.
Throughout the afternoon, the sitting continued with renewed fervor. Student leaders, including CJP founder Abhijit Dipke, were addressing the massive crowds, constantly reminding them that this fight transcended one minister.
Keeping the focus broad.
Yeah. It was about delayed results, opaque bureaucracy, and a state machinery failing its most vulnerable demographic.
The pressure was just building all afternoon. The whole country was watching Jantar Mantar. And then in the late afternoon, the dam finally breaks.
A big moment.
The breaking news hits the wires. Union Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan officially tenders his resignation to Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
The primary target of a movement born from a self-deprecating internet meme had just stepped down from the highest echelons of government.
It's wild. The accounts of the scene at Jantar Mantar when the news broke are honestly cinematic.
I can only imagine.
The sources describe a surreal, brief moment where the massive crowd fell completely silent as the news rippled through the phones. It was as if they were letting reality catch up to the digital notification.
Taking it in.
And then the silence just shattered. National flags shot into the air. Students who were dangerously malnourished, who had been starving themselves for weeks, somehow found the adrenaline to jump to their feet.
That's incredible.
There were tears, there was dancing, the chants of CJP Zindabad, long live the CJP, rolled like thunder across the observatory grounds.
It represents a profound psychological release of pressure. Weeks of physical suffering, the trauma of police violence, and the existential anxiety of a ruined future were suddenly validated by a massive, tangible political victory.
Right. And amidst absolute chaos and emotion, Abhijit Dipke climbs onto the makeshift stage. His voice is cracking, and he looks out at the roaring crowd and delivers a brilliant, culturally resonant line.
Oh, this is such a good line.
He says, "This is only the first wicket. The match is not over."
That is a masterstroke of communication.
Right.
Using cricket terminology to instantly convey to an Indian audience that while they have struck a major, high-profile blow, the game is still very much in play.
Rahul Gandhi immediately responded as well, welcoming the resignation as a vital first step towards overhauling the education system. He congratulated the students for protecting democracy.
But he didn't let them lose focus.
No, he deliberately held the line, reminding the public that two critical demands remain totally unmet: the Prime Minister's public apology and actionable justice against the police force.
He was ensuring the goalposts didn't subtly shift in the wake of the celebration. A resignation's a victory, yes, but firing a minister doesn't retroactively erase the lengthy charges.
No, it doesn't.
And it doesn't instantly patch the systemic flaws that allowed the leaks in the first place.
So I look at this climax, right? The dancing, the flags, the resignation, and the obvious question to me is, why not pack up?
That's what most people would think to do.
Why are the sources reporting that the tents are staying firmly pitched at Jantar Mantar? Why are they planning candlelight marches and issuing new demands for financial compensation and deep systemic reform? I mean, if you take down the cabinet minister, why not go home, eat a decent meal, and celebrate the win?
Because doing so would forfeit all their leverage. The decision to stay speaks to the incredible political maturity of this youth movement.
How so?
These students fundamentally understand that firing one minister is a concession, not a cure. You can swap out the person sitting in the corner office, but if the bureaucratic machinery underneath them remains corrupt.
If the papers are still being leaked.
Exactly. If examination papers can still be bought and sold in the dark, then nothing has actually changed.
They know the resignation is just the establishment offering a scapegoat to relieve the pressure.
Exactly. The physical occupation of Jantar Mantar is the only reason the government blinked. If they pack up the tents and go home, the pressure evaporates, the media cycle moves on, and the system quietly resets to the status quo.
Which is terrifying.
So as evening settled over Delhi tonight, those campfires continued to burn. The hunger strikes might have been paused by some to recover, but the occupation hasn't been abandoned. They are demanding a full structural accounting for years of educational mismanagement.
It's honestly inspiring. If you've ever looked at the news or looked at the massive, opaque institutions governing our lives and felt like the system is simply too big and too broken to change, well, today's events at Jantar Mantar rewrite that rulebook.
They absolutely do.
It proves that feeling overwhelmed does not mean you are powerless. When you take the speed and viral unification of modern digital communication, the memes, the satire, the decentralized networks.
The internet stuff.
Right. And you fuse it with old school, unflinching physical grit. The hunger strikes, the refusal to surrender physical space. You can actually crack the armor of the most powerful institutions.
It is the ultimate synthesis of the digital and the physical. They utilize the internet to find each other and forge an identity, but they utilize their own bodies to force the actual change.
The cockroach Janta party proved they could take a hit, survive, and bite back.
And that leaves us with a truly fascinating question to consider as this story develops over the coming weeks.
What's that?
The CJP proved incredibly lethally effective at unifying around a single, highly visible target, forcing the resignation of a specific minister. That provided a clear, recognizable villain to rally against.
A bad guy, yeah.
But as they pivot towards demanding complex, systemic educational reforms, the very nature of the fight changes entirely.
It goes from a sprint to a marathon.
Exactly. What happens to a decentralized, mean-driven movement when the battle shifts from toppling a clear villain to the tedious, bureaucratic, unglamorous work of rewriting educational policy?
That's a huge shift in tone.
Right. Does a movement born out of internet satire fracture under the immense weight and boredom of bureaucracy? Or can the cockroach Janta party evolve once again, transforming from a viral protest into a lasting, structural political force that actually dictates the future of Indian education?
That is the multi-million-dollar question. Will the cockroach survive the bureaucratic fallout? It's going to be absolutely fascinating to watch this unfold.
I'll definitely be watching.
Same here. To everyone listening, keep an eye on the news, keep questioning the systems operating around you,